Hi everyone, and welcome back to Season 8 of the Propcast. I'm Louisa Dickens, your host of the Propcast and co-founder of LMRE, the global PropTech recruitment and search consultancy. The aim of each episode is to introduce you to a PropTech innovator and discuss how their work has created a shift in focus when it comes to digitalizing the built environment. If you're interested in finding out more about PropTech or applying for a job in this space, or keen to know who the big players are that are moving and shaking the real estate industry, we have you covered. And we'll be bringing you an episode each week to connect you to the VCs, PropTech startups, and real estate professionals from around the globe. Today on the Propcast, we are going to be exploring the world of ConTech, and we'll be learning how we can find a solution to ensure that we get the most out of our workforce whilst minimizing our costs. Seems like a no-brainer, right? So I'm so excited to be joined by two female co-founders from Canada, Mallorie Brodie and Lauren Lake of Bridgit. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to chat more about PropTech today. Yes, this is great. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you both on the show. Now, everyone listening on this podcast, we're going to hear of Mallorie and Lauren's journey to the glamorous world of ConTech and their people-first approach, whilst learning more about the growth of this market, how they secured investment from some of the leading VCs, won over some major contractors. As a huge part of their software's focus on people, I thought we'd also hear from them how they've scaled their team. And also you might have realized the theme in this podcast is the war on talent, and it's the problem most founders are facing. And I'm sure those of you listening are probably experiencing the same pain. And then we will be finishing off with hearing some areas which they found they gained most support from in their growth and the importance of communities. Let's get started, ladies. Lauren, why don't you talk us through the journey of founding Bridgit and the product? I know you found it way back in, well, I say way back, it's not that long ago, 2014, in the glamorous tech hub, Waterloo in Canada. You're all across the US now. So everyone listening in, I've had various founders who are originally from Canada, who most of their business is across America, want us to sort of highlight, look, yes, we're a Canadian founded company, does not mean our business is not there. I know Vincent from Local Logic mentioned that too. Lauren, why don't you start us through how you came to this space? And then maybe, Mallorie, you can talk a bit more about the product.
Perfect. Yes. So we have a bit of an interesting founding story. Mallorie and I met actually through an entrepreneurship program. We came from different backgrounds. So Mallorie had been studying business. I had been studying civil engineering. As part of my engineering schooling, I had spent some time working on site for a specialty contractor and just getting hands-on experience, being on site myself, doing some of that work. And so when Mallorie and I met through this entrepreneurship program and we started to talk about what type of business we were going to build, construction came up, and it turned out we also both had family in the industry. So it was kind of an interesting set of coincidences that just really led us to being interested in the construction industry. I had some of that firsthand experience, just understanding from my time on site how little technology there was. When I was on site, everything was pen and paper. It's of course much different now, but at that time, there really wasn't that much construction tech. And so we had this feeling at that time that there was probably some sort of opportunity for us to build technology for the industry. And we really just started by what we called crane hunting. So driving around, looking for cranes off in the distance in order to locate.
Sounds so glam.
In order to locate a construction site. And we would show up like good Canadians in the middle of winter with coffee and donuts and really just hang around the construction site, hoping for someone to come walk by and chat with us. And so we just started to talk to people, engineers, architects, people from specialty trades, and just asking questions. Hey, do you have 5 minutes to talk to us? We want to start a business in construction tech. Can you tell us what your biggest frustration is in your job? And what we found was people really liked having the opportunity to open up and share their challenges. And we really started just by understanding what the problems were. So we did that for a good 6 months before ever building any product. And that's very different than how a lot of tech companies start. Often you're starting with some sort of technology and then trying to find the use case or the market for it after the fact. And we started purely with what is the problem and trying to figure out what the biggest problem, biggest pain point was, and really validate that business model and business case before going and building a solution. So that led us to launch our first product, which was more of a punch list management tool, and grew that business for a number of years and then ended up pivoting to our new product. And I can let Mallorie talk a little bit about what that is.
And I will just step in before talking about the new product. And Louisa, there was one glam moment about the research, which is we had my mom's old Sebring convertible to show up on these job sites with. So if we did stand out already just with 2 university students just walking on sites, we certainly did by the time that we would pull up in this old convertible car. It was a highlight of the research. So in terms of the second product we launched, we took a step back and realized that the construction tech market had evolved so much since founding the original company and the original product. There was many more software solutions on the market. The needs of the market had changed. So we went back out to do another round of research. Everything has always been very customer driven in terms of our product development approach. And we spoke with some of the largest general contractors in the US market primarily and learned about all of the pain points and strategic challenges they were having around the labor shortage in general and just managing their people and really trying to put the best project teams forward for the construction projects they had to really build that relationship with the clients and also, of course, deliver on the project that they had set out to build. So this was one insight that came from a contractor in St. Louis, and then we scaled that research, discovered it was a pain point across really the entire industry. So set out to build our second product, which is called Bridgit Bench. And that's for workforce planning or resource planning, it's called sometimes. And we're starting to build out more of an analytics dashboard to that as well to help not just surface some of the key data around a contractor's people, but also help give them more predictive and forecasting abilities to better plan their team in the future. So we're just over 2 years into that product launch. And it's been going really well. We've scaled across a number of really large contractors in Canada and the US and excited about, bringing the solution to other markets in the future as well.
Awesome. And congratulations for your growth, by the way.
Hi, I'm Anthony Slumbers from the Real Innovation Academy, home of the Future-Proof Real Estate course, designed to accelerate your real estate career. To learn more, please visit realinnovationacademy.com/LMRE for details and a 25% discount.
It seems to be a common thing, building on the donut thing. I spoke to another female founder, Maria from Agora, and I think they did a similar thing about whilst they were doing the research, turning up on sites. Obviously, the men on site were pretty happy to see donuts arriving. But surely what you were saying, identifying the problem is, the most important thing. It surprises me when some people don't completely identify that. Surely it's the first thing you go to when starting a company that's trying to solve a real life problem. Going back to what you were saying about the growth you guys have done, obviously you recently raised your Series B. I think it was 23 mil, and you had some pretty big names backing you too, which obviously credit when credit's due. Was it Autodesk? You had obviously BDCs, Capital Women and Technology Venture Fund, the well-known Camber Creek. The list goes on, but as I was doing my research, seriously big names there. What are the sort of plans with it? Obviously, is it further growth across the States? What have you girls got planned? Yeah,
the round was really exciting for it to come together. We had that product market fit after being in the market for a couple years with the Bench platform. And so we brought on Camber Creek and Storm Ventures to co-lead the round. And we were really excited to bring them on board because one has really the deep construction and property tech background, Camber Creek, and then Storm has more B2B enterprise SaaS experience. Them joining the board ultimately and the company as investors has been really helpful just over the last 6 months. So that's been exciting for the company. And then in terms of what we have planned, we're always continuing to innovate on the product. So it's not like, you solve the pain point and then you just stop developing the software and continue, marketing it to the industry. We are literally making improvements, learning from our customers. Every single week, there's changes going out and updates going out. And I think the key to our overall product development process is that it's very repeatable because we know how to go out and do the research, find the pain points, and actually launch a product or a module or a feature to solve for those pain points. So there's no end to continuing to innovate at Bridgit, which I know Lauren and I both absolutely love about the roles that we're in. It's really exciting to be able to go out and find new problems. So product development will definitely continue. We are very much focused on selling to main general contractors right now. That's our primary user, and really excited to just get, more and more contractors on board the platform over the next year. And then I think in the future, we're definitely looking at adding new product modules, really all centered around the challenges around people management in the space, and then also looking at international markets as well, like the UK, like Australia.
Amazing. For our audience listening in, like we said before, there's some founders, people from real estate, contractors, people from just general tech. Mallorie, maybe you want to talk us through a bit more about the ConTech market. I think it's the area that's received the most amount of investment in 2021. It's set to obviously bigger 2022. There's obviously a reason for that. What have you seen since founding Bridgit back in 2014 in terms of growth?
Yeah, the ConTech market has evolved so much in terms of the venture capital it's received. I think the total amount of investment has doubled over the last decade, and it's accelerated far beyond the pace of growth of just the venture capital investment overall. It's an exciting moment in time for the construction industry, which I know is now getting, very excited about all of the evolution they've seen in their business with some of these innovative solutions. The other thing we've seen is just a ton of consolidation in the market. So not all of that capital is going into seeding new companies, but I think some of the larger companies out there are seeing all of the innovation within the small and mid-sized companies, and there has been a ton of acquisition. So it's just a very exciting and interesting market to be in. Construction is known to be a tough industry to make changes quickly. I think a lot of structural challenges, just the project-based business model, low margins, so it can be difficult to take a risk on innovation and new technologies. But we've just seen a dramatic shift, I think, since when we started the company in 2013 to the appetite and need for technology now. So I feel like we're just at the beginning. I think we've started to see solutions where the data is being collected. And now over the next number of years, I think we're going to see some really interesting opportunities around how that data can be put to use, and all of the insights that companies like Bridgit and others will be able to drive for the industry. So I feel like we're just at the beginning. Now it's time to put all of that capital that's been invested in the market to work.
Yeah. For those new to LMRE, we're a global recruitment and search consultancy focusing on placing the best talent into the PropTech and real estate industry. We're extremely fortunate to work alongside the best VCs in the ecosystem to help scale their portfolios and their own teams. We've even had a couple of them on the podcast, such as Metapop and Fifth Wall, who joined me back in season 1. We've recently started a campaign on our YouTube channel spotlighting a number of VCs from around the globe to take the opportunity to spotlight their business, portfolios, and gain advice from the inside for those looking to access the VC world from both capital and talent perspective. So, are you looking for funding for your own business? Or interested in the VC landscape? How do they handpick their cohorts? Or if you're just a curious mind that wants to learn more, check it out. Head to LMRE on YouTube, or you can find their interviews on our website. Now on with the show. Speaking of capital and raising it, Liza, what event was about raising capital as women, and read a few articles how people saying it's slightly more challenging. The statistics say it's harder to raise the female founder. Whether or not that's true, whether or not that's changing, I believe it is. Well, I'm not very cynical about things, so I'm hoping it is changing. Or Mallorie, who was sort of more involved in the capital raise, I'm sure it's a joint effort. How did you find it? And for the, female founders listening into this, is there any sort of tips you can suggest for raising capital? You already mentioned the importance of finding a balance between, having the real estate and the construction expertise, but also having, say, the B2B, B2C expertise. Any tips for the audience listening in?
Definitely. We certainly found it challenging to raise capital early on in the business. At that point, you're really just pitching your vision and you're pitching yourselves as founders. And at that point, that was much more difficult of a sell. There is definitely that unconscious bias. And we were first-time founders, and so we didn't have much credibility to speak to. I think early on, we were fundraising in much smaller rounds, mostly angel investors, people that really liked the firsthand on-site research that we had done and saw that we were attacking a problem that truly existed. And then over time, what we were able to do is start to prove our efforts more in the actual metrics and numbers of the business. And that makes the conversation much easier. So with this most recent round of financing, we were in that fortunate position where we had great revenue growth. We had really low churn. We were able to speak to the metrics of the business, and it was less of the subconscious bias playing a role. I'm sure there still is some element of that, but it's harder to argue when you have the numbers to put in front of the business and really show everything through traction. So that was our experience with this most recent round, was it came together quite quickly. And that was just because of the momentum and the product market fit that we were able to show, and just proving that through all of the growth that we had seen.
Yeah, I guess with all the growth you've seen, you've also grown your team. And after doing some, I guess, personal research at LMRE, finding a diverse senior management, obviously, you have 2 female founders here, but your management also varies too. And I think looking into DI is extremely important for the growth of a tech business. And last year you made a couple of senior exec hires with Amy and Jason. How have you got about this? Obviously, you're a fast growth tech business. You're in a very exciting position in the market, especially in the last couple of years, like we just said. What would you say the most attractive part of working in this space are? Why did you both go into it? Laurie, maybe you want to go first?
Yeah. So Lauren and I, just having the family backgrounds in construction and in our final year of school, going out and doing the firsthand research, we always felt just like at the end of that research, after hearing all of the different pain points and challenges that we could maybe play a role in helping to solve, it felt like there was no choice. There was no looking back. After we had talked to literally hundreds of people, learned about the challenges, we were just set on helping play a role in the technology ecosystem of this industry from day one. So I think our perspective is maybe a little bit different than the team that we've grown. So I can talk about the way I think our team thinks about it in a little bit more detail. At Bridgit specifically, we've been diverse from day one. Lauren and I did not come from software engineering backgrounds. We were females in construction technology, really 2 male-dominated industries. We had very little capital to put to work. And so we had to be scrappy by hiring people that were just in our networks, which ended up really having the company lean to be a little bit more diverse from the beginning than I think a lot of other companies. And then that ultimately just led us to, from a very early point in time, attracting more diverse talent. So even now, as a 90-person company, we have a very diverse organization just in terms of gender, educational background, industries that the team has worked in prior to Bridgit. Our board is very diverse. Our executive team is diverse. Our investor base is diverse. So it happens early on. Then I think it just becomes really attractive for a lot of people to come and work at a company that has people with so many different perspectives and so many different backgrounds. So that's been a huge differentiator for us, and, made a lot of individuals that maybe haven't even worked in construction tech before just be really interested in working at Bridgit specifically because of our makeup. And then as they get into the construction tech industry, they're learning firsthand about all of the really interesting challenges, which then excites them to really stay on board at the company. So we definitely have a unique beginning that happened just very organically, but it's been something that has been a huge reason to attract top talent over the number of years and has exposed a lot of folks that weren't in construction tech to the construction tech industry as well. Lauren probably has something to add on that, because I know we're talking about in our team growth and everything quite a lot right now, but that's my initial perspective on it.
Yeah, I totally echo what Mallorie's saying. I think the other piece to add, because Mallorie talked about how it really happened organically early on, was that in watching that organic growth and understanding how the team was coming together and understanding how it was that we were attracting different types of candidates, it allowed us to actually be deliberate about that going forward. And so it almost happened organically early on, and now it's very intentional. So we do very specific things in terms of how we're attracting and recruiting talent. We cast a very wide net by how we post our job descriptions and job postings. So where we can, we eliminate a lot of the criteria that a lot of tech companies would include. Things like you need to have X number of years in this type of role at another B2B SaaS company. Of course, there are some roles that are more senior where you are looking for that specific experience, but for more entry-level roles, we've found that you don't need to have that experience to work at Bridgit. And by putting some of those criteria, you automatically eliminate a big part of the market, and you end up zoning in on just the tech world, which is already quite a homogeneous grouping. And so we try to cast a wide net for those entry-level roles where we're bringing people in from other industries. We've hosted events about how to get into the tech world to try and attract people from hospitality or from government work, because again, the tech world can seem maybe a bit intimidating for a lot of folks to get into. People make the assumption that if they don't have a technical background, they can't work in tech. And that is obviously not true, even just looking at me and Mallorie. And so we really try to share that experience and make it a more approachable conversation. And then we really showcase our team and all of the work that they're doing and all of the backgrounds that they've come from. So I think we're quite open-minded in terms of how we think about talent and really look for those values and those almost unteachable traits over just trying to check the boxes all the time.
Yeah, I agree that. God, I can learn probably a huge amount from both of you. An initiative of LMRE this year is very much focusing on the DEI front. And I've been reading countless of reports. And I think it's the forefront of everyone's mind and business right now. I think everything you just said, McKinsey did a report proving businesses with diverse management all perform better. And UV and Peer Group came out with one basically saying the same, and it helps all businesses be a lot more innovative and attract talent, like you're saying, from all sorts of industries and see it as a proper sort of career pathway. It shouldn't be surprising news, but I feel like both real estate and technology and just say PropTech together now finally coming around saying, hey, this is a proper industry we can go into. How do we get there? But I'm hearing, I guess, both your journeys and how you describe the culture of your business. Hopefully more young talent will see it as a proper sort of route. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, what I'd also like to talk about is some of your pretty big clients. You have some of the biggest contractors like Skanska, Balfour Beatty, the Ryan companies, among many others. Now, these aren't easy clients to secure, and I'm sure a lot of people in the content industry would dream about having them. How did you go about doing that? I guess it's obviously getting your brand out there, a few sort of good case studies to support it. Any sort of tips for people looking to break into this industry you'd like to share? I don't know, who's more the sales or business development person out of you two?
I can jump in. So I think there's a couple different things. The first thing was that, as Mallorie had talked about earlier on, we built our product hand in hand with different customers. And so doing that research, showing our early wireframes and early designs to different companies, and really facilitating that back and forth in trying to understand the problem, build the solution, and use all of that feedback that we were getting. And that builds in itself a natural sales pipeline because you're engaging those companies, you're getting their feedback, they feel heard, they get to actually give their input into how the product is being developed. And so through that process, we're also figuring out, okay, which of these companies would actually want to use the product once it's developed. And so that allows some of those early customers to get on board, those true early adopters who really love being part of the research and development phase. And then the construction industry is a very tight-knit group, a very competitive industry. And by starting with the enterprise segment, that was a very deliberate choice because those companies hold a lot of credibility. So being able to say, Skanska uses this product has a lot of weight. And so we really started by trying to secure as many of the ENR 400 logos as possible. The ENR 400 is that list of the 400 largest general contractors in the US. And right now we have 80 of the 400 logos. And that happened, of course, slowly over time. But the hardest part is the first number of logos, and then being able to share case studies, being able to have customers speak to how they've used the product at trade shows, doing different podcasts or webinars and things like that, and having the customers speak to the product. That is what we have found is the most engaging, because it's one thing for us to talk about how great our product is. I think the better thing is to actually hear it from a customer themselves. So we've really leveraged that and referrals and kind of the word of mouth element that comes from happy customers.
I think we got about 3 all in the same week or so. So the exact order is hard to remember, but I remember we did a trip to Texas, was one of the first markets that we were starting to sell the bench product. And we signed up a couple companies in the Texas area initially. And then we went from 3 to 10. And then, all of a sudden you're at 20 and then 50, and then it just kind of scales. But if you can really nail the first, 10 or so customers, to Lauren's point, there's so much credibility to be gained from that. And the one thing I would just add is that we've been very careful to say no when it comes to our strategy and the type of client that we're selling to. So we could really focus on who we could add the most value to, given where the product is at today, and deliver a great experience. And then over time, we may launch in new segments or with new types of customers, but it ensures a really great experience for the customers we do bring on by saying no to those that are not as good of a fit. And so I think it's easy for early stage startups to want to say yes to everything and sell to everyone because growing that revenue is so critical, but it ends up hurting you in the long run to do that, and it hurts the experience. So that's one other sort of major lesson learned when it came to actually being successful some of these really important accounts.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that. I think we are also very genuine and very honest in how we speak to the product. It is, of course, an evolving product. And early on, when those first customers started to use it, it was super bare bones. And we didn't over exaggerate what the product could do. At that point, there were very limited features, but it was enough to get those early adopters to use the product and to start getting more and more feedback and to continue to add to the product. And so I think we've been able to really build trust with those customers. They know that what they see is what they get. And the other piece to that is we build on the product very quickly. So every day, even new things are going into the product, and that's all driven by the customer feedback that we get. So people are able to see that their opinion actually got incorporated into the product. And then that just builds, more and more trust in that when there's something that's lacking in the product, that we're actually going to deliver on a solution for it. So that, helps to spread a good word in the industry, as Mallorie was saying.
I guess also, especially everything in the construction is so bloody slow, having a technology that actually works. Now we're going to our last question. So even though I know majority of your business is across the US, you originally obviously founded in Canada, and that PropTech scene is growing hugely. And I know there's obviously the PropTech Collective out there, which is founded by the one Courtney, Julie, and Alice, which I presume you know. If you don't know those ladies, you need to, because they're amazing. Have you used any sort of external support or associations or groups? So it's in the construction industry, maybe in Canada. I don't know. For me, I'm part of various groups, and I really find it great to be able to bounce ideas off people, or just in terms of understanding what's happening in this space. Is there any association or group that you lean on at all? Lauren, maybe this one's for you.
Yeah, there's almost too many to speak to. We have quite a few different partners, various types. So that could be associations that we're part of. It could be an integration partner, so a company that our product integrates with, and we're able to actually show that business use case for how the two products can work together. There's other partners that we work with that are more industry specific. There's marketing partners that we work with to do joint webinars and collaborate together as different teams. And then we have our base of investors who provide a ton of different support. And we've been quite deliberate in building that group of investors to have both construction backgrounds and people with tech backgrounds. And the example of Storm Ventures plus Camber Creek in the latest round is a good example of that. And so being able to have different people to go to for advice and for help and for introductions, and really leveraging the networks that the different individuals or groups have has been really critical. So I think it all comes together. That idea of it takes a village, I think, is very true for us. And just having a diverse group of people around us, I think, has been very important.
I would just say the other thing beyond associations is just really a lot of one-on-one conversations that we've had. There's been so many people in the industry that have given us so much time. And I think it speaks to everyone's just motivation and interest in really making big changes and really transforming the way work is done in construction. And so associations are great, and we've connected with a lot of people through that, and they've been a lot of help, but also just those one-on-one conversations just can't be overlooked. And there's people that have met with us, 5, 10, 15 times over the year to give us feedback. That's just pretty awesome in terms of their time that they've given and the time they've given to technology and innovation. So I think just really exciting that everyone's willing to lend a hand, and we definitely try and pay that forward as well.
Yeah, I think, on my side, since growing or setting up LMRE, there's definitely a few people like Michael Beckman, Ben Lerner, who've been honestly like my agony aunt, just bouncing ideas off, asking them what they think about this, asking them to explain endless things to me, endless introductions. But the community that sounds the space, whether it's on the ConTech side, there's always a close-knit community, which I think is really beautiful. And I don't know if you get it in every sector. I can't imagine you get it in the fintech sector too much. I imagine that's quite dog eat dog.
Hey, this is Michael Beckerman from ConTech. I'm here to invite you to check out ConTech Plus, the first streaming platform devoted to innovation and technology in the built world, featuring new weekly videos from the world's leading real estate and tech professionals. The first month of streaming is absolutely free, and then you could use the code LMRE to receive 25% off your second month. To learn more, visit plus.cretech.com.
Right, now we're going to get to the final part, which is the LMRE part. I don't know why I say R like a pirate, but I do. So the L is obviously touching on the main lesson you have learned throughout your career. We all have many lessons, I'm sure. M is give a mention to anyone, a product, service, could be one of your partners, a little shout out. R is what's been the most rewarding part of working in this space. And what are you most excited about for 2022 and so on? And so, Laura, would you like to start us off?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about lessons learned. One that comes to mind is the importance of corporate values. And that's something that I personally didn't put a ton of emphasis on early on in the business. I always thought it sounded a bit fluffy and not as important as what I've discovered it to be. And so it took us actually a little bit longer to put our values down on paper and actually start talking about them as a company. And it's really helped to align everyone and the decisions that we're making and how we're hiring and just the brand that we're putting out to the team and to potential employees. And so I just really can't stress how important that is, and something that I just didn't really understand the importance of early on. So we have 5 core values at Bridgit, and I think it's helped to align how we're making decisions. What are the values that we're looking for in employees? What are the behaviors that come from that? And how does someone be successful at Bridgit? And our values are quite different than what a lot of tech companies would have. So I think it's also allowed us to differentiate and make sure that we're hiring a diverse team. And we're not hiring people because they have the same perspective as us or they come from the same background. We're hiring people from all different walks of life, but that all share that same value, that same purpose. And so, yeah, that's something that I definitely have learned to be super important and just something that has really allowed us to scale quickly.
Yeah, we've done that at LMRE, actually, exactly that. So our core values are integrity, teamwork, and passion. What are yours then? What are your 5 values you mentioned?
Yep. So we have deliver results fast. We have win or lose together, which is all about teamwork. We have never stop learning. That's actually a newer value. So we're also iterating on the values as we go through different stages. And we realized that it was very important to stress that now that we're in the scale up phase. And it's easy sometimes to become complacent and think that we have certain things figured out, but we're always learning and always trying to do things better. So those are kind of the 3 main ones.
Now, Mallorie, so we've got the M part, which is you can give anyone or a product, a service, a partner, whatever you want, a shout out. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, so I'll give a mention to Tiago da Costa, who's the CEO of Toric. They're a newer company in the construction tech space that just came out of stealth mode this fall. Based in California, he used to be the director of data at Autodesk. And I just think analytics is such a compelling opportunity in the space right now. I know a lot of construction companies are investing heavily in their data teams, and we've met him a number of times and are working closely together. And I just think Toric is up to some exciting work. So excited to see how they evolve over the next couple of years.
Awesome. So watch this space, guys. Everyone look them up. Now, the R part, I'm going to stick with you, Mallorie, for this one. So what has been the most rewarding part of working in this space, other than obviously working with Lauren and delivering donuts?
So I would say, 2 things really stand out. I think every day that I'm working at Bridgit, I have to pinch myself a little bit because I'm like, I kind of still just can't wrap my head around the fact that the industry was open to giving us this feedback. And then with essentially nothing in the beginning, we were able to figure out how to build a product, launch it, and scale the team, and do that with 2 different products at this point. Build a 90-person team that does have the diversity that we've been able to build the team with. And I think it's an amazing place to work and really add value to the industry. And it's not one specific part of the experience. It's the fact it actually has just all happened. And if I think back, given where it started, it is definitely a little bit surreal. So I think to sum it up, I guess the putting an idea or putting a pain point you hear into action and really seeing that take off in the market is just so rewarding. And so that's been really amazing. And then you alluded to this, but the partnership that Lauren and I have together, I don't think founders can underestimate how valuable it is to have a partner in business that you have complementary skill sets, you're completely aligned on the vision and what you're trying to do at the company. And it just makes it more fun and exciting to work on it with not just the broader team, but with a business partner that you do have that great relationship with. It's something that, I know Lauren and I are both like very appreciative of and can just make a really hard thing, which is building a business, just possible.
Yeah, well, I guess make sure you enjoy the ride as well before you start looking at other products. I think you're always pushing for the next thing, and the pressure from VCs or just personal pressure we all put ourselves under. And then quite often you just need to pinch yourself like, hey, this is quite good. We've achieved a lot this year. So I hope you had some time over the Christmas break to enjoy it. Lauren, finish us off with the E part. What are you most excited about? Whether it's this year or maybe you want to talk about the next few years, it's down to you.
Yeah, so we're definitely excited about expanding on our product. Mallorie touched on this earlier, but we started with workforce planning, and that has been a great stepping stone. But we see so many opportunities in front of us in terms of being able to expand that product and really capture the human capital space within the construction industry, which is an area we feel really hasn't gotten any attention yet. So we just see this huge opportunity in front of us. And from a product lens, very excited to go after that and move as quickly as we can. And I think the other piece is seeing the growth and seeing the team and seeing some of the early team members that have been able to just take on challenge after challenge and how they've grown their careers at Bridgit is so rewarding for us. And just seeing how much we're learning is amazing. The team really comes together. There's constantly challenges. There's constantly things that we need to change and figure out. But I think it's just the best team to be doing that with. And there's such an openness to change and to adapting. And I don't think you find that in every company. And so I really don't take that for granted. And I know our team doesn't either. So it's just fun to think about the year ahead or the couple years into the future and try to picture what that will look like. And just knowing that the team is really going to come together and deliver on that.
We spend so much time at work. So having like a culture environment, a work family that you can all grow something which has never been created before is seriously impressive and exciting. It's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on the Propcast. Yet again, congratulations on everything you've done over the past few years, not even that many. And I'm really excited to see your further growth over the next years to come. So thank you again. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you after the show.
Thanks, Louisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Propcast, and a big thanks to our guests and our sponsors, ConTech and ReamTech. Make sure you visit our website, LMRE.tech, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, keep up with our industry news and events, or if you're looking for your next career move, it's all on there. The Propcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, where all good content is found. Whilst we're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate it if you could spread the word and tell a friend about it, or even write us a review. And I'll catch you next week.
Making a high-quality podcast like this takes a lot of work. That's a fact. But not when you hire Copus. With our white glove experience, we handle everything for you. From guest outreach all the way through to publishing and promotion, we handle it all. You show up to hold great interviews and build relationships with your guests, and we take care of everything else. Podcasting is not just about the audience. Every podcast interview is the start of a new relationship. With a weekly podcast, you would build relationships with 52 ideal partners or prospects through your podcast interviews over the next 12 months. Do you believe that 52 new relationships would grow your business? We do. Contact Jason at Copus, KOPUS.com, and let's talk.